There tends to be a fall off in quality with movie franchises. It's not exact science, but sequels can be amazing, prequels are generally a letdown, squeakquels exist, and the movies beyond those, well, they can go any way really. When it comes to the fifth movie in a franchise, however, there only tends to be one opinion. Fast 5 is the best film in the Fast and Furious franchise, which is debatable. Maybe I'll get to that. Fast 5 is an incredible movie, and it jumpstarted the franchise into this glorious popcorn fest we see now, but there's another fifth installment of a franchise that deserves some credit. Final Destination 5. If you haven't seen it, stick with me, it's great. You need to know now that Final Destination 5 might be the best one. And that's high praise when you consider Final Destination 2. But seriously, this movie is something else. The Final Destination franchise doesn't get enough praise for what it is. Its concept is basically an episode of The Twilight Zone or The X-Files, but made into a movie, which makes absolute sense because that's exactly what the original idea came from. While it was once a spec script idea for The X-Files from creator Jeffrey Riddick, it soon became a movie directed by James Wong and co-written by Wong and Glenn Morgan. Wong and Morgan themselves were key in the production of The X-Files, them themselves helping create the show that we know and love, even down to kickstarting the Monster of the Week episodes that truly made The X-Files great. Seriously, I won't get into it here, but the Monster of the Week episodes of The X-Files are far more interesting than the mythology stuff in my opinion. What you really need to know is that after making the first Final Destination movie, James Wong made Jet Li's The One, which is incredible, and he much later made Dragon Ball Evolution, which is... James Wong brought us the first and third movies, while David Ellis brought us the second and fourth ones. To the uninitiated, that means that arguably the best, and definitely the worst Final Destinations both came from Ellis, who also gave the world Snakes on a Plane, a movie with the best TV edit,
I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane.
And the worst product shoutout.
All praises to the PlayStation, yeah!
But Final Destination 5 comes from Stephen Quayle. Yep, you've almost definitely never heard of him. He hasn't done much, but he's worked with James Cameron, mostly as a second unit director, but they also directed Aliens of the Deep, which is a documentary I haven't seen. Quayle, however, clearly understands filmmaking quite well, especially after working with someone like James Cameron, because you can see it in Final Destination 5 in how thrilling, suspenseful, and entertaining it is. He hasn't gone on to do much more since, but he made Into the Storm, which is very forgettable, but does have a few great set pieces and sequences. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a fire tornado? Quayle directs a script by Eric Heiserer, who also wrote the screenplay to Arrival, which is very good. The rest of his filmography, though, is a bit mixed. Here, however, Heiserer is on top form, crafting some brilliant characters, interesting conflicts, and even humour and personality, which keeps Final Destination 5 stuck in your brain.
Thanks for the advice. Creepy guy.
Seriously, compared to the fourth movie, I can remember so much of Final Destination 5. I couldn't even remember how the fourth movie started, even halfway through watching it. If you don't know much about Final Destination, basically every movie has a similar premise. Right before a group of people are about to travel somewhere or do something that brings them all together in one place, someone has a premonition of bloody and gruesome deaths that are about to happen. While they successfully save the lives of those they have visions about, you can't escape death for too long. What Final Destination essentially becomes is a film where death seemingly sets up elaborate Rube Goldberg machines that pay off gloriously with over-the-top death. Some deaths come out of nowhere and are just as brilliant, but what you go into a Final Destination movie hoping for is the ridiculously thought-out sequences and their bloody payoff. All of the films have them, but Final Destination 5 might have the best one. The thing is, Final Destination 5 doesn't just give you that. You go in expecting blood and gore, but it actually gives you more than that. It has a good sense of humour to it.
Okay, I'm sorry, do you come with subtitles? Okay, you know what, maybe I should just go.
It fleshes out characters and relationships effectively. And goddamn, casting Mars Fisher is such an inspired move. I swear, Final Destination 5 is cursed with obscurity, because Miles Fisher needs to be in bigger and better stuff. You probably haven't heard of him either, but he's made a couple of viral music videos in the past, including one that stars him and the rest of the Final Destination 5 cast, based on Saved by the Bell. Seriously, it's great. You can also see him in superhero movie, though he is doing a really good Tom Cruise.
The dragonfly can't even fly.
And seriously though, give me a Face-Off remake with Miles Fisher and Dave Franco. Give me Dave Franco as Miles Fisher going undercover in a prison.
You know what happens to a handsome guy like me in jail? It rhymes with grape. It rhymes with grape.
Fisher brings so much weight to Final Destination 5. He's not even the main character, but this film actually has a solid story and motivations for each character, something you don't expect from what you initially write off as a mindless horror franchise. Fisher portrays a brilliant broken character who truly weighs up the situation they're in, trying to find a way to cheat death, even more so in the light of his girlfriend being the first to go, which is the true burden on him. Final Destination 5 sings loudly in its best sequences, but even the quiet ones help flesh out how much better this movie stands against its peers. Hell, one of the best sequences is a tense conversation towards the end of the movie between three characters, followed by a solid action sequence in a kitchen. It's a kitchen that we initially established as being full of potential death traps, but the more dangerous thing is the unhinged desperation of man. Who knew that would be one of the highlights of the movie, and maybe even the series? But we all know where the movie truly shines. The brilliant chain reactions leading to the biggest deaths in this film. While the sequence in the massage parlor feels like a solid evolution of the tanning bed sequence in the third movie, and the laser eye sequence is effective in being unsettling because of the lack of control and focus on eye trauma, there's a sequence in the gym that is without a doubt a masterclass in setup, payoff, suspense, and definitely the best kill in the entire series. There's no denying, this scene has so many peaks to it. It fills you with anticipation, it subverts your expectation, and when it all finally comes together, it's the best shock. Even for that alone, Final Destination 5 sits above the rest. Quayle just throws everything into this film. Heiser's characters build out the world and story effectively, but Quayle pulls off every idea on screen perfectly. And boy, that opening disaster on a collapsing bridge is such an incredible feat of special effects and spectacle in a horror movie you don't expect to be getting. There's just too much to talk about with Final Destination 5. I could go on a big deep dive of this movie if I wanted to. It's a film that starts strong, finishes very strong, and the middle is a much more impressive beast than you expect. I'm just glad we're getting a new Final Destination movie. Final Destination 5 ties things up perfectly in such a way that a sequel, reboot, whatever can happen. And saying that 5 movies in is crazy. What other franchise goes bigger and better in the second movie? Have a completely different cast and scale in the third movie? Give us an absolutely terrible fourth movie with a naming convention that calls back to the first movie for some reason, only to create the biggest and best movie yet with the fifth one, full of great effects, characters, and casting an actor who I want to see in more movies. Alright. Well, at least Final Destination hasn't been delayed.